I am calling to order this agency funding special meeting.
Supervisor Diamond, Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Corbett,
Yes.
Trustee Macher,
Here.
Administrator Berman,
Here.
Department Director Daczynski, Lyon,
Here.
and Gus.
Here.
Okay, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good evening and welcome to our meeting. Have we had any requests for public participation? No. Okay, fine. All right, if the minutes will note that, we'll move on with our meeting. And that is with our first presentation tonight from the Older Adult Services / Home Delivered Meals. We have some people here to address us on this matter.
We're going to have Mindy Hamlin and Jamie Alberto presenting for Older Adult Services.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here back in person. I know a little different from last year. We see a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces, so we're eager to meet all of those that we haven't. So thank you. My name is Jamie Albergo. I'm one of the clinical social workers and program coordinators with Advocate Lutheran General Older Adult Services. I've been there for nearly 7 years. And I coordinate several of the senior programs, one of them being home delivered meals, which is why we're here tonight. So I'm going to just slide over for a moment and let my colleague introduce herself.
Hi, nice to meet everyone and see those familiar faces. I'm Mindy. I'm the manager of Older Adult Services. I'm aging in place. I've been, oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed to say, I've been there. January will be 21 years. With the department, and Jamie was one of our interns and we loved her, so we brought her back and we work hand in hand great together. So Jamie's going to give you a little rundown about home delivered meals and the program that we offer.
Great. So the home delivered meals program actually began nearly 50 years ago under the Service League of Lutheran General Hospital, way before it was part of Advocate Healthcare. And a couple years into it, as it expanded, it made sense for the hospital to transfer it over to Older Adult Services. So our department has had the program for about 40 years. What's great about the program is that being that we're a part of the hospital, we roll up to the hospital, we have this support in terms of being able to have the food prepared right there at the hospital. And so when it comes to different dietary needs, restrictions, preferences of the program participants that we serve, our community members, we are able to offer a variety of meals, everything from cardiac, renal, diabetic, vegetarian, kosher, mechanical puree, so on and so forth. And so the program itself, I go into the participant's home and do the comprehensive assessment and discuss what the needs are. And oftentimes there's needs beyond just nutrition. So I'm able to go and step in and fill in those gaps with other resources. But there's no fee for my home visit. And of course then, they're on my caseload, so to speak. So I regularly follow up with the clients and make sure that everything's going smoothly and, reevaluate every 6 months. The Home Delivered Meals program operates Monday through Friday. It's over the lunch hour, so that's when volunteers and staff deliver the meal. The meal itself consists of a main entree, a starch, a vegetable, again, freshly prepared daily. It's packaged at the hospital. And then there's also a cold box that accompanies the hot meal, and inside would be the dinner roll, the dessert, the side salad, as long as with the beverage. And it's just for a nominal fee of $6. There's no tax, there's no gratuity. We do take financial hardship into consideration as well when I'm doing the assessment. Our service area is Maine Township. We are one of the main providers, for home delivered meals. And specifically, again, we're that meal provider that can meet all the variety of different preferences and restrictions. So, just like in years past, we've been here, Mindy and I, for many years, talking about home delivered meals, and the support from Maine Township has always been very beneficial to our program participants. But I do want to highlight that our program continues to operate at a deficit. Nothing has changed there, but we continue this program, and again, we've been doing it for so long. We continue this program because it's one of those services that we know there's a need in the community. We want to be able to continue to meet the needs of the elderly, the frail, and adults with disabilities that have trouble preparing their own meals and who have different medical needs. I do want to highlight that our program throughout all of 2021, and yes, I'm standing here, the pandemic is still going on, as we all know, we have been providing face-to-face service the entire year, and a very, very large portion of 2020 as well. And so for many months, Mindy and I were out there in the communities, picking up the food in the insulated coolers, using our own personal cars, and delivering all of the, 35 meals per day. We were fortunate that, I would say probably maybe 3 to 4 months ago, we were able to reinstate our volunteers through the hospital, through volunteer services. Of course, there's always gaps in volunteers. Other organizations experience that same hardship, but we have a strong group of volunteers that dedicate themselves to help, and then staff regularly fill in. But I do want to, of course, highlight that our safety measures are still in place. It's contactless, meaning that the packages of food are put into clean, unused grocery bags. And so we're handing off the meal, keeping our distance, doing a quick, check-in, which is very crucial considering the populations that we serve. Of course, we're still wearing the masks, regular hand sanitizing, and using screen doors oftentimes as an additional barrier between the client and ourselves. So I'm going to step aside, and he's just going to share a brief win with all of you as it relates to one of our participants.
So I know every year we talk about a safe story, like a safety story is what the hospital says, and we call it a win at Lutheran. And whenever we get a win where somebody was saved in the home, we always report it on a safety huddle within the hospital. And this was one that we had reported a couple months back. It was, let me see here, a 96-year-old lady, lived alone in a ranch-style house, Maine Township, and one of our staff actually was delivering a meal to her. She wasn't so steady in her feet, and when we got to the front door, she could hear her screaming and yelling from inside the house. So right away, the team member was able to see, thank goodness her screen door was unlocked, which is interesting because she always latches it at the top. And she had come in the morning, gotten her newspaper, unlatched it, and fell right in the doorway and was just laying there since about 7 o'clock in the morning when we arrived at about 11:30 to deliver the meal. So the staff member was able to see she was okay, and there was no blood, and she was coherent and talking and saying the times that she fell and everything. And we were able to contact Jamie, who immediately contacted the daughter, who had the police and the fire department there, and was able to get her up, and she was okay. But sometimes I wonder, it's not just a meal that we're delivering. We're looking at the well-being of these at-risk, home-alone patients in the house by themselves. And how many times do we find, I always have a news story to tell you, how many times do we find people where they just went to get the newspaper, if it wasn't for the meal delivery, the daughter said, oh, I saw her on Sunday at church, I picked her up and took her there. I probably would have called and worried about her until the next day, which would have been Tuesday at this rate. And then the condition of the person, changes. So that's a win, as the hospital says. Finding somebody and giving them the aid that they need is great. So we collaborate a lot with Maine Township. We work with the Maine streamers and Marie all the time. She probably hates hearing from me on the phone all the time when I call her. Older Adult Services itself does a food drive for here in Maine Township twice a year. We're getting our stuff together now and get ready for Thanksgiving, and then we bring some of the adult daycare participants over and they drop off the food. Some of Marie's staff is trained under my license for Matter of Balance, which is an evidence-based fall prevention class that they teach here. And then anytime, Marie asks, we come over and do a, presentation on Lifeline, home delivered meals, our services, senior advocate ship, open enrollment for Medicare is going on. So anything like that, the same thing that you guys have here. For many years, the hospital was one of the main event sponsors for Swing Into Spring as well, that they had at Gulf Mill for many years. And lastly, I just talked to Brock, I found out good news that we're gonna have some community service kids start back and hopefully come back with the main track and the peer jury group, so that's always exciting that they can come and help out. We have a lot of yard work that needs to get done and fridges that need to be cleaned, so we'll put them to work, that's great. I'm trying to think what else. We definitely work closely together, for the 20 and a half years that I've been there. It's kind of nice. So I just want to say thank you this evening. Thanks for your time and your consideration as you always do every year for continuing assisting home delivered meals.
Okay. I'd like to know if any of the board members have any questions of the presenters here. Probably will have a question, but first of all, I want to talk to the administrators too. Ask if you have any questions.
No, I just have a comment. I just want to say thank you to Mindy for all the years that I've spent here. Anytime we needed anything, when I was still doing Maine Track, when I would get the community service kids from Skokie, some of them were actually very troubled, and I would always send them to Mindy because I knew she could knock some sense into them. So that was great.
I don't know if that's good or bad, Marie.
That was good. You knew how to handle them. So thank you for that.
So I have a question. On the first page, you say your total agency budget is $1.1 million, and then under question 27, you list your total funding sources is coming up to about $526,000. So where's the extra $500,000 come from?
So our department budget, that's for all of older adult services. So the adult day program, our early stage memory loss, everything collectively is around 1.1. But you're seeing a deficit as we've been impacted from COVID in terms of revenue and funding sources coming in. So she was referring to this as the total, because we took such a large hit.
Oh yeah, we were closed for the biggest, I don't want to say money maker, but the thing that helps us stay afloat for older adult services is the adult daycare center. And the adult daycare center was closed for some time, and that's where you're seeing that. I'm sorry?
And people pay for that service.
That is correct. It is a fee for service. It is also
State contracts as well.
through the Illinois Department on Aging. We just reopened the adult daycare this year in February, and we've been going strong so far. So that's where you're seeing you in the hospital see that deficit. For
So
sure.
I know you're a 501c3, but all over your documents is advocate, or advocate names all over everything in Seeger. How much does Advocate Hospital donate?
How much is, I'm sorry?
How much does the Advocate Healthcare donate to us?
Well, it's not a matter of donating to us. They help us stay afloat the best that they can. So,
But between Mindy, myself, and our accountant, we are responsible for our own facility. We are actually considered our own facility. We have individual cost centers. So we have to oversee the budget and all of the daily operations of such as well.
So an example would be like the rent in the building. We, out of our cost center for older adult services, have to pay rent to be in the building. It is a very, very reduced amount of space of rent, amount of money of rent that we pay. For example, we pay $2,000 for rent for the adult daycare center. Our building, I don't know if you're familiar with it, was the COVID vaccine center, it was a children's daycare center. The amount of money that they're trying to rent that space for would be somewhere in the $20,000 to $30,000 range. So the hospital helps us by giving us a reduced rate in the rent. But basically, I mean, to answer your question, it's interesting. We're always in the red. I've been there for 20 years, we've been in the red for 20 years. We don't want to be in the black. right? So the black means we're really losing, the hospital's really noticing, hey, you guys are really down. What can we do to beef up the revenue? They've never said to us, close your doors, shut you down. Of course not, because seniors is what we do, what we live, and 2025, there's a big transformation for seniors with Advocare Rural Healthcare. But the question remains, like you say, different little grants like this help us stay afloat and help us support the programs that we have. So staying in the red is fine. You know, the goal is not to make money, the goal is hopefully to break even. But I can tell you that this year with COVID and last year and moving forward, it's definitely not going to be a break-even year. And then when we don't break even and we're in the red and the black, that's when the hospital says, well, we're not going to shut your doors, we're going to keep you open, and we're going to still pay your salary and your 401, and you're going to pay your vacation, and we're going to pay your medical for all your staff and keep you afloat. So, you know, it's there's a percentage, I don't know if you're familiar with, you know, how much it costs each employee to have benefits. And it's an astronomical amount for the salary for each employee.
You can finish your sentence.
It's a high amount. I only know that because we just recently worked on another grant with Illinois Department of Transportation, and it was something like 23% of the salary is what it costs the hospital.
But it sounds like if there are some things in your budget income that are not reflected in this chart. That is, you have some income from Advocate.
Well, there's no income. The Advocate doesn't give us income at all.
But it pays all the benefits you have, right?
Well, we pay it, and if there's ever a time, which there hasn't been in 20 years, where we're in the black, then I would hope that that Advocate, with Lutheran General, would help support. So they give us a reduced rate per se for the rent, for the building that we're in, even though it's an Advocate-owned building, you know, everybody's gonna.
So like the restricted, we work off of a restricted fund account, which is kind of like a savings account if you think of it that way. So over the years, you know, we accumulate, you know, whatever it might be from, I don't know, I mean, whatever.
The funders, there's different funders that give money, like we just had a gentleman in Park Ridge who supports the Expressions and Early Onset Program. He donated $5,000 and he said, I'll give you $5,000, I want you to buy 10 iPads to use in Expressions room. So donor intent is where we would have to use that money. For example, my mom passed away a few years ago. My dad said, what do you want the donations? I said, put it to older adult services. And when home delivered meals is down $1,000 and my dad donated $3,000, I can take some of that money and move it over into this account to possibly help.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
It looks like every single year your request is the same, $5,500, and that you only get about $4,000 from Niles Township. Is there a reason why that request is always so low and always that exact amount? Is there something that prevents you guys from asking for a little more? Because it looks like the request every single year was $5,500.
From Maine Township?
So I mean, this year we did ask for just a little more, we went up to 6, but, you know, in years past, we've always just been we've been consistent with what we've been asking, knowing that there's so many other agencies that are in very similar positions to ours.
Right.
There's only so much money to go around, and don't be greedy, we're grateful what we can get, to be honest. Every year I tell Jamie, up it, and then I think, don't up it. So, you know, we're grateful what we get.
That's a modest request each time, it's the same thing, you're not asking for there's nothing that keeps you stuck, strikes that. Nothing that restricts you to that amount, you're just
No, exactly.
happy with what you get.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Our next presenters here.
Up next, we have Orchard Village and Susan Kaufman will be presenting.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm Susan Kaufman, and as Blanca said, from Orchard Village. We want to thank you for not only the opportunity tonight, but for your ongoing support. Orchard Village, many of you may know us. We are a nonprofit that serves children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I know you've recently heard from Avenues. We do some of the same work as well as some of our counterparts. I'll give you a real brief overview. I know our time is limited, but we do that through a variety of programs. We have community day services where adults with disabilities will come to a center to learn skills, social skills, recreation skills, and vocational skills to help them gain more independence. We have employment programs where we help people find jobs and keep jobs and support them long-term through job coaching. And we do that all over the north and northwest suburban area, including Maine Township. We work with employers and help do matches for really just helping create the best employment circumstances for the employers and for the individuals we serve. We have a variety of residential programs for people who may need 24-hour continuous support in the north and northwest suburban area. And we also provide residential support for people who may live independently and just need intermittent or small amounts of support so they can be as independent for as long as possible. We have home-based programs, so we go all over Cook County, Maine Township, and up to Lake County to provide services in the family home to for children and adults that have disabilities. And these services help families maintain that person at home and give that extra boost of services in their home so that they can get the help they need. We have an academy, and that's a therapeutic day school for students aged 17 to 22. And these are the transitional years, those when they're transitioning from high school to adult services. And we have served people in the Maine Township District 207 in that program. This is a really small program. It's very therapeutic, and some families and students prefer it much to the large school settings like we have in Maine Township here because of their therapeutic needs. We help prepare the students for either employment when they graduate from high school, or for some of them go on to college as well, perhaps here at Oakton. We have a broad array of clinical services, and those would include nursing and counseling and behavior supports. And the one I'm here tonight to ask for some funding for, and which you've supported in the past, is our therapeutic recreation program. Our rec program is very small. It is, most of the services that we provide are funded by the state of Illinois, either through the Department of Human Services or the State Board of Education for our school. This therapeutic recreation program is not funded by any governmental source, so it's completely funded by a donation such as yours. The whole budget is just one person's salary and then the benefits that go along with that, and then any supplies or equipment that we need to purchase to provide this service. And so Therapeutic Rec is a program that is provided by a specialist that's trained to develop goals and life skills for people with disabilities. And they attain those goals through recreation and leisure-based activities. So it's a very fun program, but it also is very goal-focused and outcome-based for them. All the services that Orchard Village provides are very individualized and personalized depending on what the client and their family may want. And it's the same way in our therapeutic recreation program. It's what are those things that they need to be more independent and to live a more fulfilling life for themselves and a more enjoyable life. Many of our folks need lots of help with recreation. They need to be exposed to different types of activities and opportunities, and we do that through the program. We're asking for funding tonight to help us with supplies. We do a lot of consumable things like arts and crafts, and so we're always replenishing supplies. We have a farm in one of our locations in Skokie where we provide horticulture therapy. And so we always need more dirt for the garden, or plants, or pots, or things like that. Those are the types of supplies that we may consume on an annual basis. We're always in need of purchasing new equipment. Last year, with some of the funding that we received from the township, we bought an adult three-wheeler bicycle. And so many of the clients who have never ridden a bike before were able to ride bicycle, and it was so much fun when we watched them on our campus riding up and down and just having the time of their lives. So This year, we also want to move into more music therapy, and so we need some funding to provide the instruments, rhythm types of instruments, perhaps percussion instruments, things like that, that our clients can easily use and easily learn to play. One of the highlights of last year at Orchard Village in the clinical area is we opened up a behavioral health clinic so that our clients' mental health and behavioral health needs can be served by counselors on site. And so that's something that we're looking forward into the future and some of our plans. Next year in 2022 is our 50th anniversary. And so we're really excited and very proud to be able to have served the community, including Maine Township, for that long. We continue, our Orchard Village was started by a person who had 3 sons with disabilities, and that was, as I said, almost 50 years ago, and today we still serve one of those individuals in a residential program. So we've got a long and rich history that we certainly hope to continue. Certainly last year tested all of us. We were running residential, our services never stopped. They never stopped in person. And it was a very trying year for us. The services that we were providing through therapeutic recreation were very instrumental to the mental health of the individuals we served. We did that both in person and also virtually. So we learned, as you all learned, I know, how to do Zoom. Our clients learned how to do Zoom. And we did parties. In fact, we're doing a Halloween party next week, still virtually, because we have many of our clients are medically fragile, and so we're not doing a lot of large group activities with them yet. They learn how to use Zoom. Our staff have learned how to use it, and so some of our recreation has been through electronic media, which has been really great. And the donations that you provided helped us last year do that. So that's what we're here tonight.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, any questions? Yes, one right here, and then I'll get to Austin.
I have a question on number 24. The question is, does your organization participate in cooperative programs with any other community agencies? And some of them that you mentioned, such as Manassar and Center for Enriched Living and Avenues to Independence, we currently fund all of those agencies.
Great.
So can you maybe talk a little bit about
Sure.
what you do with those agencies?
Absolutely. Our individuals participate in Manassar and Center for Enriched Living because they, as they choose to. So they may go to a program, that is sponsored by both of those agencies. The therapeutic rec that we have just enhances all of that. We do serve 250 people, 74 of them which live in the township. And so having one person, and we do have some volunteers as well that help him. We can't reach everybody, so they supplement their recreation through those 2 programs. Avenues to Independence and Orchard Village have a very long-standing collaborative relationship. I know Jason really, really well, and I knew Bob really well before that. Our agencies are working together on, in fact, our therapeutic rec specialists and their rec specialists are working together to do sports games together. We had planned a summer party, which unfortunately with Delta was canceled, but we're planning it for next summer. And also Jason and I sit on a collaborative board of agencies, many of them from this area, where we work on other grant-funded projects together. So we collaborate quite closely.
Okay, so we've been funding Avenues to Independence for probably 20 plus years.
It's 1985.
Okay. So how do you differ from that agency?
Well, we do some very similar things. Employment and residential are very similar. Avenues doesn't have a therapeutic day school. We do. I don't know if Avenue doesn't have a behavioral health clinic. We do. So there's differences like that, but certainly our target population is very similar.
Thank you.
Of course.
Austin, did I see you?
I was just wondering if you charge for the therapeutic recreation program?
No.
So that's free to...
Correct.
Okay.
What was the second thing you mentioned? I'm sorry, I was writing in the notes. The therapeutic day school and then the difference from Independence we have.
Oh, behavioral health clinic. So that's where we have a doctor of social work who provides counseling. In fact, we have plans to collaborate further with Avenues, but we just hired the person, so we'll be working on that in the future. We really believe in collaboration. There's so many people with disabilities to serve, and neither one of our agencies are about competition. We're about working together to enhance the field and to serve the community.
I have a question.
Oh, please go ahead.
Last year, it looks like Maine Township contributed $500. That was the allocation. Does that sound right?
It was, but then during COVID, you gave us a little more. I think it wound up to be about $660.
Okay. And this says that Niles Township though, contributes as much as $30,000.
They do.
$30,000 versus $500.
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the only other townships involved in this,
That's correct.
which is in Skokie. So you're in.
We're headquartered in Skokie, and that's where we were founded.
So 30,000 from, and only 500 from Maine Township.
Yes. And we're asking $1,000 for the program.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. We
I would like to call the next, please.
Up next, we have Debbie Payne and Kate Hewitt presenting for Northwest Suburban Daycare Center. Thank you.
Good evening, I am Debbie Payne, and I am the Program Director and Lead Teacher at the Northwest Suburban Daycare Center. Tonight, I'm here with Kate Uechi, our Executive Director. First off, I would like to thank Maine Township for the continued support of our program, which according to our records dates back to 1977. We would also like to extend an added thank you for the COVID-19 supplements we received last year. Your commitment and concern for our community really does make a difference. The Northwest Suburban Daycare Center was established in 1970 to provide high-quality, affordable childcare to parents with low income. Thankfully, we continue to be housed rent-free in the Cambodian Buddhist temple. We care for children ages 15 months to 5 years. We're open 52 weeks a year, Monday through Friday, 10 hours a day. Our curriculum provides each child with the building blocks needed for kindergarten readiness. We believe that open-ended, play-based learning allows for hands-on experiences, creative expression, and a firm foundation for success. And speaking of success, we were just awarded our 3rd Silver Circle of Quality from the Accelerate Illinois Early Childhood Quality Program. This initiative recognizes a center's achievements above DCFS standards. Specific criteria must be met to obtain this certification in areas such as room arrangement, communication and language, nature and science, math and numbers, and so on. Earning this recognition and performing annual assessments not only enhances our program, but it also gives parents added assurance for the quality care we provide each day. As you can imagine, there is nothing virtual in the child care world. Therefore, we continue to be vigilant in our efforts to keep the children and staff safe. First and foremost are our classroom pods, which keep staff and children in the same group each and every day. This ensures if someone tests positive for COVID, only one classroom would have to be shut down. Second is maintaining our inventory of PPE, which includes table shields at mealtime, plexiglass shields between cots at nap time, digital thermometers, and cleaning supplies. And finally, we have been successful in our mask protocol for all children, parents, and staff. We were pleasantly surprised how seamlessly the children adapted to wearing masks, and we like to refer to them as our little heroes. Currently, all of our families enrolled are single mothers, and one single father who happens to be a former student. He has also joined our board of directors as a parent representative. Over the past year, we provided full-time childcare to 21 Maine Township children. We apologize that the number on our application of 16 Maine Township residents only reflects the monthly average. In fact, this past year, 82% of the total families served were Maine Township residents. The number of clients during any given year depends solely on the turnover rate of families. So while our overall numbers may be small, they reflect the longevity of care each family receives. It's not unusual for us to have a child start at 15 months and graduate at 5 years old. That's nearly 4 years of loving care and early education provided to just one family. Currently, all of our families are on the subsidy program. They need to be working or going to school full-time in order to qualify. The state's income allowance is 200% below the federal poverty level. On average, our parents earn $13.58 an hour, or just over $28,000 a year. These are truly the working poor of our community. With the help of the Child Care Subsidy Program, the average tuition for these parents is only $29 per week. As stated in our application, the money we receive from the government for our services does not cover our daily costs. This is why funding from local support, like Maine Township, is so desperately needed. We are proud that we have maintained a solid partnership with Maine Township for the past 44 years. So on behalf of the parents, our staff, and most importantly, the children, we thank you for your long-standing support of our program. Thank you for all your time this evening, and Kate and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have tonight.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Do the board members have any questions?
I wanted to just clarify so you're saying just on any given time you have an average of about 16 kids a month, is that you're hoping? I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes.
And it just fluctuates, like right from the township, and it just sort of fluctuates, so you can't, like it's hard to say somebody might start and then stop.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there is there like a cap to how many you could serve, or do you have the ability to serve more?
Our contract with the state right now is 24 children.
Okay.
Any questions?
I just wanted to thank you for your partnership with us for our Student Government Day program as well over the years. And after we get through this COVID-induced pause, we hope to go back to resuming that partnership.
Definitely.
And then just a question too, how far away would someone have to go to receive similarly subsidized childcare services?
That's a good question. I mean, the Elk Grove school closed.
Sorry. Really, there's centers all over the place that take Action for Children certificates, which has the same qualifying guidelines, but a majority of those centers will charge above and beyond what the state guidelines are. So if the state says your co-payment is $26 a month, these other centers are a business, they're for profit, so they need to charge more to keep, so they're not losing money. As far as being a contracted site, so we do all the paperwork, but there's only like 50 in the whole state, so it's very uncommon to find us.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. And I ask the same question, I think, every year. So I always find it amazing that you guys aren't full or even have a waiting list. So are you doing any type of advertising, like through churches or the local schools? Or, I mean, I just know there's so many families that are low income that need childcare.
We do have a waiting list.
Oh,
Right
okay.
now, we're full just because of the COVID pods that we're trying to maintain, so that if a teacher is absent or something, then we still have coverage in each classroom.
Okay.
So we're kind of maxed out due to COVID.
I see. So how many kids do you have on the waiting list?
I think last count there was 20 or something like that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, thank
Would
you.
you have the ability to expand and accommodate more kids?
After we can break up our pods, if we could start mixing kids, yes.
Thank you.
All right, so, we have our next presenter here.
Up next, we have Fred Smith presenting on behalf of Daily Behavioral Health Clinic.
AKA Maryville Academy, right?
Correct. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for having us this evening. My name is Fred Smith. I'm the Administrator of Community Service for Maryville at large. And Maryville is the sponsor of Family Behavioral Health Clinic. Family Behavioral Health Clinic will provide individual services, group services, family services, DUI services, risk educational service with DUI, and also mandated court mandated anger management classes. Also, one of the things I did want to mention again before I get into the overall topic of Family Behavioral Health Clinic is one thing that I'm personally super proud of that spun out of the Family Behavioral Health Clinic is our recovery home for moms, which works directly with the Department of Children and Family Services. And one of the reasons I'm so proud of that is that it is a way to keep families together. And what used to happen is that if mom had a substance use issue, DCFS would remove the kids. But since we started these two different recovery homes, the kids are able to stay with the moms, and the Family Behavioral Health Clinic goes into these programs and provide services for the mothers. So the mom get to stay, the kids get to stay with their mom, the clinicians travel from FBAC to these different locations and provide services for these mothers. And I'm super proud of that, those two different programs. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you all for giving me time to talk about that. So over the past year, Family Behavioral Health Clinic has provided 26 unduplicated clients from Maine Township directly. We've also provided a total of 101 referrals from FBAC to other providers, including with Maine State. Of those 26 unduplicated clients, that spun out to be 390 appointments, 25 individual sessions, and 140 group sessions, and a total of 486 hours of services to the various different Maine Township clients that's part of that 26 unduplicated clients. So this coming year, we're expecting to increase that from 26 to 36 unduplicated clients. So we are, the funds that we are requesting isn't to cover the total cost, it's to cover the variance. Majority of our clients are Medicaid clients. Our percentage of Medicaid clients is about 91% of clients that serve the FBAC. When Maryville started FBAC, it was a spinoff of when we used to run the Scott Nolan Hospital. And when Maryville made the decision to close Scott Nolan Hospital, the medical board said, well, we don't have many providers in that area to meet the need of the underserved population. So Maryville agreed with the state board that it would be detrimental to the community to remove a Medicaid provider from the area. So we knew that when we started the Family Behavioral Health Clinic, that our target population would be the underserved population. And as we all know, that many providers now do not provide services for Medicaid clients. So we are dedicated to providing those services to the low-income population. So we are looking to serve up to, let me correct myself, I said the 30, we're looking to increase that up to 50 unduplicated clients for this coming fiscal service year. And one thing I do want to point out that when COVID hit, we had to make a turn instantly to telehealth. But one of the things that we did learn from telehealth is that the percentage of cancellations and no-shows significantly decreased. Because telehealth allowed the client to get on, they iPad, computer, or phone, and be instantly connected to a provider. And that significantly decreased no-shows and cancellations because they didn't have to worry about travel, and they did not have to worry about childcare for the clients to be able to get to the clinic. And we will continue that services after the restraining of the outbound of COVID. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I'll turn to board members and ask if you have any questions now.
If you know, Fred, what would be the primary reason someone would be turned away? Is that because they have too much income? Like one of the things it says here that some Maine Township. What is the approximate number of Maine Township clients referred to other agencies? 106. Are those people that have a little bit too much income, or what would be the reason why they're?
No, some of those are for med management. We refer them out for med management. And if it's the services that we cannot provide, you said someone is dealing with autism and looking for service for autism, we don't provide that services. So we will refer them to a provider in the area that does.
Okay.
Last year and the year before, if I remember correctly, you were having a hard time finding a psychiatrist or a therapist to help with Maine Township. Did you find one?
We have brought on we are in the process of trying to hire a therapist now. It has been an extremely difficult time of trying to find clinicians right now.
Right.
So we are still doing that. One of the things we are looking to do is to rebrand the clinic. Chronic Behavioral Health Clinic used to be at 1455 Gulf Road. We moved to downtown this ways now. We're located at 701 Lee Street. So with that move, it gives us an opportunity to rebrand and relocate and to refresh the name of Chronic Behavioral Health Clinic. We work with some departments in our community.
And I just wanted to comment on the recovery for the moms. That's really remarkable. That's great. I'm sure there's a great need for that, especially with the mental health challenges that COVID has increased in the pandemic over the last 18 months. So that's really great. It's exciting that you have that program.
And one of the things we have to really focus on, it's not just the client that we bring into the clinic, but the mental health of even the providers themselves. Because they're dealing with a lot with they're dealing with the COVID, but then also with what the client is bringing on also. So we are really working with the providers to ensure that they are getting their needs met as well as the clients who they provide the service to. But that's truly important because the burden they take on as providers.
Other board member questions? Any administrative questions? Must I say again first?
In 2020, you asked for $25,000, and then in 2021, you only asked for $12,000. Was there any specific reason for the decrease of requests?
Yes, it is. During that time, we had stopped providing mental health services. So we only asked for the amount that we were dealing with when it comes to substance use disorder.
Okay.
But we have brought mental health back to the clinic now.
Okay, thanks.
My question was related to that. I noticed that last year you had served 92 Maine Township clients and then down to 26 this year. What's the difference that you account for almost being 70 or so % decrease in to what extent are you providing mental health services currently?
Currently, we have our clinical director is providing, I'll ask the second part first. Our licensed clinical director is providing services now, and we are working with the residential clinicians to start providing services in the clinic as well. So that's how we're addressing the mental health side, so we can bring more clinicians. In reference to the decrease, part of that is to cover is the stoppage of mental health services, and then the COVID beds. So in between both of those, it's the difference in between stopping mental health and then the COVID epidemic.
Percentage-wise, just roughly, how many of your services are substance use disorder related versus mental health?
20% is mental health and about 80% is substance use.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
It's anger management, under mental health. You mentioned anger management is another one.
Anger management is if it's court ordered,
Right.
you have to have a license to be able to provide. You have to be, not a license, you have to be certified.
Right.
And we have someone that's certified to do it for an anger management court order. But anger management can fall under mental health without it being court ordered.
I see. So they overlap.
Yes.
But the anger management are criminal defendants who've been told they have to do this, and then you help them.
Correct.
Provide service. Okay, that's.
Correct. We have a certified person that's deemed that can provide those services to the court.
Great. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Is our next presenter here?
Up next, we have Bruce Sewick and Jennifer Hamilton with Lighting Family Service and Mental Health Center.
Good evening, everybody. So it's not only Lighting Family Service and Mental Health Center, it's also the SHARE program. The SHARE program, it's our inpatient substance abuse facility in Hoffman Estates that serves the entire state of Illinois. So kind of an overview of the agency is we basically provide, I can't think of anything we don't provide, kind of cradle to grave services. We have everything from outpatient services to crisis services. We have food pantry senior program, which is kind of geographically defined. We have, in Hoffman Estates, we have initially a 56-bed inpatient substance abuse facility that includes a detox and 3 residential units. One is a medication-assisted treatment unit for males. We use a Suboxone taper for people that are coming off of heroin withdrawal. And we have a female unit and then a male unit. Those last 2 are not medication-assisted units. With COVID, we've lost 13 beds because we've had to distance everything per the COVID guidelines in the rooms there, so we've lost 13 beds. I'm very proud to say that primarily because of Jennifer and her staff, we have never closed anything during COVID. We've provided services throughout the entire time of COVID. There was no services that were not provided, and that includes the inpatient substance abuse program, which our director did a very good job of maintaining all the COVID guidelines. We never had a problem there, knock on wood, and continued to serve, as I said, the entire state of Illinois. There was a decrease in general with people coming in because they're, initially because of the COVID, but we've noticed that it's picking up now. We have an increasing wait list that we're addressing. Jennifer's going to talk a little bit about some of the grants we have that very directly are of good service to the community. We have our senior program provides transportation to Seniors, we have a car that takes them to their doctor's appointments. The food pantry, we paired up with the Greater Chicago Food Depository to provide a wide array of food to people that come from all over. And our budget has increased. We've gotten state grant money now for these programs that are open to the community that Jennifer will talk a little bit about.
One of our newest programs is called the Living Room, and there's a few of these in the state, you might have heard of them. And the wonderful thing about the Living Room, you've heard of that, is you can just, sort of show up when you're not feeling good, when you're in distress. You don't need an appointment, you don't need to show us your ID, you don't need an insurance card. None of that is necessary as long as it's, during our open hours for the Living Room. And people don't even have to give their name if they don't want to. They can make up a name. You can go in there and talk to a clinician if you need to, but the most important part of that program is that you can go in and you can talk to someone with lived experience of recovery from mental illness or substance use. And through that, we're finding a really strong message of hope that a lot of our guests are experiencing. We call them guests because they're in our living room. It's a beautiful space. It's very calming and relaxing, and it's going very well. And we don't have numbers of how many Maine Township people have utilized the living room because a part of that grant is we're not collecting that information, so that we don't have. We also have another program called the Transitional Community Care and Supports. This is where if someone needs a psychiatric hospitalization, they don't have insurance, private insurance, and they don't have Medicaid, they go to a state-operated facility. Those are Chicago Read, those are Madden, Elgin Mental Health Center. So what will happen there is one of the social workers from the hospital will contact our team, say this person's going to be discharged in a few weeks, or I'm thinking maybe you guys could help this person, but it's a few months down the road. And our staff will start to engage with that person in the hospital, and when it's time for them to be discharged, go pick them up, help them get to where it is they're going. Our team is usually helped arrange transportation to housing. Sometimes the person might already have housing to go back to. And they'll go to Walmart, they'll pick up some socks and underwear. They'll go get them their groceries and all of that. So also that service, of course, would be available to any Maine Township residents who were in the state operating facilities. And our newest program is our Crisis Service Array that we're very excited about. This is a new grant program that the Division of Mental Health put out just a couple months ago. So what this is, there's going to be a 988 number, the National Suicide Hotline number. It's going to be really directed more to local agencies who can go out and respond on site. A lot of the calls that police departments are getting and that 911 is getting, those are not calls that require police presence. A lot of them are, someone needs mental health help, someone needs addiction help, someone might need help for a variety of other resources that don't require police intervention. Our team will be there definitely within 90 minutes, sooner than that. Our very first crisis program call that we got occurred in a Walmart parking lot. And we were able to go out on site, meet with the mom, meet with the person who was having the problem, and help that person get the help they needed. So those are services that are of no cost to the participant and are covered by the grant program and our staff. We're also having problems hiring, as the gentleman before us mentioned. There's a behavioral health workforce shortage, and that is creating, that's creating a backlog in the number of people who are wanting to get our services. So we're working very hard to try to hire more people, more staff. That's one of our programs.
And if you look at the pie chart, 42% of our population is a Medicaid population, which has been referenced before, and we need places like yourself, villages like yourself, townships, because the Medicaid rate, even though it's been raised a little, is still not cover the cost. People paying $25 to see a psychiatrist that would pay $125 an hour to does not cover the cost. So we have a sliding scale. Nobody is turned away for lack of money. So people are, charged based on what their income level is. And as Jennifer said, we have explained the new programs that we have that serve the community. We're part of the whole state response to crisis. It's going to be a much tighter system now because of agencies like ours, and so we most appreciate your support. Any questions?
All right, are there any questions from board members?
The facility is located in Maine Township, is that right? Is that Franklin Park? Or is it-
Yes.
Okay, and the other townships that contribute to you are Hanover and Maine Township,
Right.
is that right?
Yes.
I've heard of that living room, you may want to ask for a bond slip though, too.
For what is that?
A bond slip, see what their bond slip says. Just think some people that are transitioning through the criminal system might
Make a note of that.
benefit greatly from your service, but also cause some problems potentially.
Thank you.
Would we be able to contact you on how to obtain that?
The, what?
The bond slip, is that?
It's a something, anybody who's charged with a crime, sometimes they have to bond out.
Okay.
It says a D or I at the top of it. A D bond says how much they pay to get out of jail.
Okay.
And I bond says they have to go to court. So it's just an identifier that shows they're
So
in criminal justice.
how do you get that?
Yes, ask them for it.
You have to ask?
The person who's you're treating,
Okay.
I guess you said you treat anybody who walks in.
Yes.
Who needs help, and a lot of people.
And that's probably a question we don't ask, so thank you.
Right.
That might be something going on.
Yes.
If they have bond slip, then what does it say?
And we would want to help them with that, because a lot of our clients do forget when they have appointments, they need help to get to those things.
They'll get their court taken.
Mhm.
A lot of it's not important stuff, except to them if they don't show up.
If they don't show up, right? Thank you.
Any board member questions? All right, administrative questions? Yes.
You mentioned you experienced a decrease in services as a result of COVID. I know many mental health facilities have experienced an increase. Could you talk a little bit about why you think it decreased and when it started to pick back up again?
So we didn't see a decrease of service, we saw decrease in people coming in for service, that's what you meant, right? So, that's kind of a difficult question to answer because as you can tell, we just got the statistics on opioid overdoses, so a lot of stuff was happening in the homes that was not, something that we got involved in. One of the big things too was we had a children's SAS crisis program. So a lot of the crises get called in from the schools. The schools are aware of what's going on, maybe child abuse, and call, the CARES line. So when the kids weren't in school, that decreased a big portion of a lot of the calls in. And the same with children and adolescents, they weren't coming in. And so the question is, what was going on that we don't know about? And now that the kids are back in school, we've noticed a dramatic increase in all the things that typically take place when the schools are open. So that is the first thing that comes to mind.
I just have one other question too. How have the number of clinicians changed over the past year or two, and how many open positions are you currently looking to hire?
It's gone down some. We've had someone retire. We've had a couple staff who just really, because of the difficulties of COVID, they found it overwhelming. They didn't want to be in the workforce right now. Currently at our Franklin Park locations, I have 5 positions open. Those are for master's level clinicians. We are going to start reaching out to bachelor's level clinicians also to see if we can, get some more help in there.
Thank you.
We also, because we're mandated to have vaccines, we did lose some people that did not participate in that. So, like at the SHARE program, we lost 5 people the day that you were supposed to either show you had the shot or come up with a reason why you don't. That was unfortunate, especially with the population that we're dealing with at the SHARE program. You would think that the clinicians would want to be vaccinated because you're dealing with people that are on the street using, so it doesn't make sense to me. So that happened just like that, because until that day we didn't know, and that was just very recently.
I would like to say the saving grace of all this right now has been interns. We've got about 8 or 9 interns just at our Franklin Park locations who are really helping pick up the slack, and they're being supervised, of course, by licensed clinicians. So that's helping us really bring in more people through the doors. As those people have gotten back to normal a little bit, those calls have been increasing. So
So we're able to serve more people with the help of the interns, which is part of our duty as social workers and counselors to train the next generation. Yeah, and just to piggyback off of what Rich said, so last year your unduplicated clients overall was about 9,000, and your unduplicated Maine Township clients last year was about 500, and now your unduplicated clients are about 4,400, and your unduplicated Maine Township clients are down to 100.
Yes.
And then I'm assuming that was because of COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
And the numbers are picking up. I mean, it's unfortunate that the numbers are based on people in, distress, but
Right.
when the stressors continue, people back at school, people going back to work, then you start to get that. Start to get that increase.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions for me? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
Do we have another presenter now?
We do. Up next, we're going to have Amy Fox presenting on lifespan. Or lifespan.
Good evening. I'm Amy Fox. I'm Lifespan's Deputy Executive Director. I see a few familiar faces, but if you'd like, I can give you a general overview of the services that we provide. So Lifespan, we are a comprehensive domestic and sexual violence agency. So we provide 3 core services that are really and truly integrated and are provided in a team sort of atmosphere. We provide civil legal representation. So we have almost a dozen lawyers, 4 of which are housed in our Displays office, who assist victims of domestic and sexual violence in the area of family law. So that means we do divorces, we do orders of protection, parentage matters. We also do immigration. So we assist victims to seek relief under primarily the Violence Against Women Act, but also we help people who are victims of crime obtain other relief. We have a counseling department, so we provide individual and group counseling to adults and their children. We also provide criminal court advocacy, so we assist victims navigate the criminal court system. I don't know if any of you have ever had to go to criminal court or attend a proceeding. You know that a victim is merely a witness to the crime, and she often feels as though she's the least important person in the room. And those systems are extremely challenging to navigate. So we have court advocates who will go to court with the victim and help them navigate that process. They also assist with speaking to the police and other system advocacy. We also have those are our key core services, but we also have a very robust outreach and education program. So we are in a number of area schools providing presentations, everything from, we'll come in and do an hour presentation to a health class, or we'll do a semester-long curriculum in a school that teaches healthy relationship, domestic violence, issues regarding conflict resolution. We also do a number of presentations to professionals and other trainings, and we do some policy work. Does that give you a good overview? Do you want me to? Good.
Sure. All right. I'll take some quick questions now for our speaker. Anything from board members?
I will tell you 2 things that I don't think are in our proposal. We actually expanded during COVID, which is very exciting.
They expanded here.
Very exciting.
Oh, okay.
Very. One expansion, I think you were aware of this, that we did expand a couple of years ago to do victims of human trafficking who have a domestic violence relationship with their trafficker, because it's not uncommon for a trafficker to have a domestic relationship with the person that they're victimizing. It's a way to gain power, control. They have children with them, they may be married to them, so we expanded our services and our expertise in that area. That was a couple years ago, and then last year we received specific funding to expand to also provide those services for victims of sexual assault and human trafficking. But the exciting aspect of that expansion is the people that we've partnered with. So we've partnered with a number of Planned Parenthoods throughout Cook County. We work with Lutheran General Hospital on their task force with human trafficking, and we have provided, or we've also partnered with some community violence organizations in Cook County. So that's extremely exciting because we've always valued being in the community, providing our services, and especially with this population, it's important to be in community. So interestingly enough, but probably not, you may be being trafficked, and your trafficker actually lets you go to Planned Parenthood because it's relevant to the work that you do. And so it's a great place to provide education outreach to the service providers there, but then also we'll have staff on site on a rotating basis to meet with people and individuals who are there in a very safe place for them.
Okay, all right. Any questions from the board members?
Amy, what's the breakdown of virtual versus in-person services?
Breakdown. So we provide, you know, our model is really client empowerment. So that means we are responsive to what the client is seeking and in the manner in which they're seeking it. So the breakdown at this point is, I would say we are probably at about 60% virtual, and including telephonic, and about 40% in person. Our offices, I mean, I'm in the office 5 days a week, so our offices are actually open on a voluntary basis at 50% capacity, but our staff really wants to be in the office, and so they're there. The 50% capacity is really so that we can keep staff safe and distant and allow for clients to come in. We've actually noticed that a number of clients are preferring the electronic. You know, who knew that this is how we're providing services? You know, I think a couple years ago we would have thought, how can we truly treat a victim of trauma virtually? Because so much of it is body language. But we found that people are actually opening up more. There's something about, you know, if your parents probably know, you've got your kid next to you in the car, he probably talks a lot more than he does when you're looking right at him. So we've learned that that's been helpful. But a lot of people actually don't want to do Zoom. I mean, we don't use Zoom, we use a different platform, but they don't want to do virtual. I think they prefer telephone, but whatever they're seeking, we're providing.
Thank you.
And I should say, it depends what type of service they're seeking. The courts are still all Zoom. So the legal services are probably more like 90% virtual, 10% personal.
Yeah, we refer a lot of clients that are dealing with DV issues to you, so it's great to have somebody just in our local neighborhood here.
Thank you.
It's a trusted source. Thank you.
Yeah. Maine Townships are home since 1978, so.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for letting me be here. It was nice to see you in person this year.
Yeah, you too.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, do we have another presenter on the way perhaps?
Hopefully they're on the way, there's a word on the lease.
All right. We are running early, so we'll take a break, and if the presenters arrive, please alert me to that fact, okay?
I will do that.
Thank you.
Sonia and then Brian.
You try to call.
The call on close contacts.
For the, yeah, just in case, I mean, maybe it goes to their cell phone.
Okay. So, while that's taking place, actually, I'm just going to make a couple of announcements. We don't have anything to vote on tonight, of course. Nothing's on our agenda, but just to give the board members a little heads up of the packet that you'll be getting tomorrow. There's a couple of RFPs there. One is for our cybersecurity audit, which we've worked on before. Another one is for auditing services, to look at some other auditors. And we do have an audit, we have had someone do an audit in past years, but he also prepares our daily financial, our regular financial services. And I feel as though it's probably better to have another accounting firm review the work of what's being done with the accountant that works with us on a regular basis. So that RFP will be asking for some new accounting firms to give us proposals, which we'll look at. So take a look at that too, if that's something new. We will, we'll talk about some solar clean energy providers, and I'll discuss that more, but you'll, is there going to be something in the packet, or is it just on our agenda? I think it's just on our agenda.
For which item?
The solar clean energy providers. Yeah, we don't really have anything. We'll talk about that more during the meeting, and whether or not we want to hear more at the meeting after that. And you will also find in your packet the proposed levy for the town, Maine Township, and a proposed one for the highway. And this is a little bit earlier than we would normally do it. And the reason has to do with the timing and when we have to get it into the county clerk. And the proposed levy is just the same as last year. It's the same last year. Now, I will say that we have some alternatives. I'm not saying that this is the levy we should pass, but it's somewhere to start. We have the alternative, of course, of lowering the levy, keeping the levy exactly the same, raising the levy up to 5% without doing a hearing. And if we wanted to raise it above 5%, we have to have a public hearing. So those are sort of some of our alternatives. And what you'll see is a proposed levy, which is just like last year. So, you know, we can discuss that more and talk about it a bit more. Daniel, I think you were saying that the levy has actually been lowered the past few years. Is that right?
Right. So the last 4 years, the previous administration has lowered approximately town funds by 15% and GA by 50%.
That's cumulatively.
Right. So we just put an estimated levy in there now, and I just made it flat from last year. But you'll notice that the levy significantly, if you look at the numbers, you'll see it's significantly lower than the budget. And if you're wondering why the numbers aren't even close to what we budget every year, that's why. Plus, every year, the previous board did an abatement by several $1 million. So, you know, we have everything online. I can include the abatement if you want as well, or you can look online. But so right now, we have to do an estimated levy, but we also have to pass an actual levy by December 28th. So there's actually 2 levies that need to be voted on by the 28th.
Right. So the 28th is a Tuesday.
It's actually our board meeting.
This is where the trouble is.
Right.
Because we can't wait till the 28th of December to pass the final levy, because it would be too late. It would be, you know, we have to do it at least a day ahead of time. Okay. So that's one reason I'm suggesting we start this 2-step process this month. So this month we could pass the estimated levy, and then in November we could pass the final levy, which would make it on time. Should be passed.
You're expecting a vote then on this at this coming meeting, right?
Well, only for the estimated levy.
It can be changed. It absolutely can be changed.
Right. So, but I also want you to start thinking about it. I mean, do you want to do anything different? And you know, why, and so forth. So that's what you're going to see, and that's what we'll start talking about at our meeting. And I just sort of wanted to explain, yeah, it is a little earlier than usual, and that's the reason why. And also bring your calendars, because if for some reason or other we decide we're not going to pass the estimated levy at our October meeting, then we have to start to build another meeting into our schedule. You know, so we have to pick up another meeting date in order to do that on a timely basis.
We might not want to do that. More meetings.
Especially in December, you know. So that's why I'm just suggesting maybe we want to do this a little earlier than has been done in the past.
Right. Okay.
Just in talking about other meetings, so we have tonight's meeting, and then we have the next final budget meeting. Do we have a meeting to discuss the budget? Like, or not the budget, but do we have a meeting to discuss all of this stuff?
Yes, we will.
As a follow-up?
I think, well, I don't think we've said it yet, though, have we? We have the third meeting, which for the third group of people, group of presenters, November 2nd or something like that?
Something.
Okay.
Yeah.
November 2nd.
Second or?
It's typically discussed among the board and voted on at the December board meeting each year.
Okay.
All right. So we can also talk about the process for how this has worked in the past. So, we're all sitting here and listening and, making our own notes and everything like that. But can you tell us what's happened in the past in terms of how a decision is made after we've heard all the presenters? And I think it may have varied
I
from
think
year
I know
to
the
year.
answer to that. I don't know anything, but I think I know the answer to that. It's my understanding all the trustees and the voters would put their number down, and then they take an average, and that would be the number. Does that sound right? Is that how it was done?
Kind of. It's done two different ways. So
Okay.
the last 4 years, it was an average of the board, and then that was voted on at the meeting with just potentially some slight adjustments here and there, up or down. Prior to that, we had an internal meeting of the supervisor, administrator, 3 of us, department heads, and our agency program coordinator to kind of come to a consensus recommendation for the board based on our personal experience working with agencies as well as the presentations and the packets. And then so that was kind of based roughly on the average of everybody on the panel here. And then that consensus recommendation was given to the board, and they could choose to adopt it, or they could choose to discuss it and change it at the December meeting if they chose to. So that was how it was always done prior to 4 years ago when it changed.
Thank you, that's a relief. It's not just on us, we get participation from
If
the people who are more around.
the board chooses to do it that way, yes.
Choose to do it that way, right. So, can I just make a comment?
Yeah.
I work under both of those. As
Yeah.
a lot of, information, a lot of us did. And the second option that Rich just described where it was more collaborative with the directors, because they deal with these agencies on a day-to-day basis. So they have much more insight, and so their averages were very helpful. And then we did have discussions. We didn't just the last board would get offended, or when we would come to the last meeting and say, "This is the number, it's the average, that's it." And we're very rigid, where prior to that, we did have discussions between the board members and the directors and the employees on, sometimes we changed the numbers a little bit and gave this agency a little more, that one a little less. And I think that worked out a lot better. It's my personal opinion, but.
I appreciate, yeah, I agree, and I actually appreciate Kim you saying that. So the last 4 years, they didn't really take into account our recommendations. We didn't really understand.
I was up here for no reason.
Right, okay. We appreciated.
I was up here for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, we appreciated sitting on the panel, but our numbers didn't really mean anything. So we kind of didn't really understand why we, attended the agency hearings if, we didn't really have any input. So, yeah, I appreciate you saying that, Kim. If we could have some input, I think that would be great, so.
I'm sorry, I just think that your input is very valuable.
Thank you for saying that.
Do that every day.
Yeah.
You deal with them. They meet them for 15 minutes and then, here's some good success stories, but.
If we all work together, we can do that successfully without any more meetings, right, Karen? Not extra, fewer meetings, if it's all, right?
No, we don't want any more meetings.
Theoretically.
No special meetings.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have some advice, because I'm just looking at numbers. I'm looking at how many people they help, what they're asking for. I'm like, it's very skewed depending on what you're looking at, but I don't know the background. And, so I think it's helpful to hear what you know about them and what you particularly do.
From the soldiers.
So,
You're seeing more than we're seeing.
we're not taking a vote here, because we wouldn't do that, because we don't have an agenda that lists for vote. I sort of sense that, most of the board members would support having directors submit their, opinions for their own vote. So I'm sorry, tell me again, did you vote yourselves first and then give us the voting totals? And then we would vote late? Run that by me again.
Yeah, so how it worked was everybody would submit their recommendation.
Now you say everyone.
Everyone on the panel here and our agency program coordinator, and then that would all be averaged together. And then we would have an internal meeting, usually sometime in November, where the supervisor, the administrator, the 3 directors, and the agency program coordinator would discuss based on that average amount a consensus recommendation for the board. So they kind of talk about their personal experience and maybe round up or round down based on that average, and then that would be presented to the board at the December meeting to be voted on as submitted or changed according to what the board would like to do.
All right. And was there some opportunity, either maybe at the November meeting or whenever, for board members to discuss, I think we should support agencies that do X or do Y, or that have a certain percentage of the clients be Maine Township clients, or some other way in which they think the decision should be made.
We haven't asked, but that can certainly be something that we do now.
I mean, this year, not this week.
Yes, this year. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay.
We've also at times said, we would love to use this money, these grants, but they can only be used for, specific things. I think one year an agency was doing new windows and some remodeling and just specifically said that this money cannot be towards that. Right. And also, I think with Lyman and also Jocelyn, we asked that because they helped us out with names, sign setting, thank you. And they helped us out a great deal when we were kind of in a jam. But we asked that our residents were put on a waiting list. They kind of gave us a preference so that, and then with this gentleman that came tonight from the Family Behavioral Clinic, I think because of the last couple of years, they didn't provide psychiatry services, and so we had some different issues with them, and they went over and give because they weren't really providing us the service that we were looking for at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, the board kind of informally made funding contingent upon finding a psychiatrist, providing psychiatric services, and that didn't end up happening.
So, so we can actually specifically say, I could go for that 3-wheel bicycle or the
You can earmark the money. Yeah.
So we're
right.
So that's where the agency heads are very helpful.
So when you guys are looking at this and trying to make your personal determinations, what factors do you take into account? What do you personally decide?
I'll chime in. I think all of us have worked with all the departments. I actually worked in Maine State for 10 years before I took on this position for the last 15 years. So we've all worked with the agencies. One thing we definitely want to look at how many township residents they actually work with. There's only 2 or 3 township residents. We might have want to fund $20,000. So that's the first thing I look at. Duplication of services. That was one of the questions you probably heard that I asked. How many fund together to independence? There's another agency that's doing the exact same thing. I don't know. So that's something I would give thought to. I don't know if someone else wants to chime in.
I work with low income. That's what I do. So if our money can go to subsidies or scholarships or whatever they're offering to be way more affordable and actually possible for people with low income, I usually go that route. Totally biased because I do obviously. And then one of the other things is we don't do everything, so I do refer a lot. then they said they can't really do it for us or something like that. But there's a couple people who do come up there, and every time I send someone their way, I never hear from that person again, and that is like the best case scenario, you know, that they're taken care of, you know? Let's get back to that.
Like for me, I know that there was an agency last year, I think that was, I'm planning to use it, was like in Gurney. So I feel the local agencies probably get most of our residents instead of going back to Gurney with something here.
The other factor too, in addition to the cost incentives, we have positive referral experiences and sometimes negative referral experiences with clients, so I'll factor that into my decision. The other thing is the cost of service delivery to a person varies greatly among the service providers. So something like legal services or mental health services or the psychiatric services is more expensive than something that carries a lower price tag per person. So factoring that into the amount of cash for given the number of clients that are served for Maine Township each year.
Like for years, schools simply want to sort of represent I didn't see
I hear you all over there.
because I think that they were great. They were a great worthy cause and their work, but I think that Supervisor Perez thought that it was that legal cause to subsidize them, even though they were 501c3.
Was it legal for us to do that?
Well, I mean, there's certain statutory reasons that we can give money away. If it doesn't fit in one of those categories, we should really be giving the money.
Lutheran General was subsidizing them, or they were part of Lutheran General. It was a great, it was a really, I think everybody was impressed with it, but we just didn't feel like we could help.
She had specifics on it?
This was there's a health center in the Maine Township High School that helps with students' health, which was really. Is it inside each school? It's in, Maine, they just built a new one, but they visit all the schools, all the students, and they actually diagnosed leukemia in the students a couple years ago, and a lot of the, so they provide home care and special services for kids who are low health, or any student. Sure. I don't know if they could travel a couple days to most schools, I don't know. And what's that called? It's just
District 207 school-based health center.
Oh, okay. It's okay.
All right, we'll get back on track here, and we have another presenter now, do we?
We do, this would be Maureen McDonald presenting on behalf of Peer Services.
Peer services, we skipped one, right?
We did.
Last but not least.
All right, okay, fine. Ms. McDonald, would you like to give us a little overview of your program, please?
Sure. So good evening, everyone. It's a little bit jarring that last year we did our funding hearing on Zoom, and it's nice to be here in person with you all again. I see lots of new faces, so it's wonderful to meet you all. So Peer Services is the substance use treatment and prevention agency serving the northern suburbs, the northern neighborhoods of Chicago. We are the primary organization that focuses on serving people regardless of their ability to pay. So 91% of our clients last year were low income. And, it's a combination of state and federal funds and township funds and other fundraising that makes it possible for us to deliver on that promise. So we've been in business for 46 years. We would have had a 45th anniversary celebration last year, but we all had other things to do. So we're looking forward and building towards our 50th. We provide a combination of services for adults and adolescents. Our youngest clients tend to be 12 or 13. Our oldest clients, right before COVID, we graduated somebody who was 90 from treatment. We routinely have people in their 80s getting services through peer. And so we focus a lot on meeting the community's need and substance use through the lifespan. So we work a lot with teenagers in high schools. We work a lot with people who have been referred through the courts, if they've perhaps gotten a DUI arrest or another, there's substance use related to other offense that's gotten them on probation. We routinely work with people in all those kind of circumstances. Prior to COVID, we were serving about 1,100 people a year. Last year, we were down to about half. We did continue to serve people through telehealth last year, and that was new for us as it was new for everybody, but it worked fairly well. And we were able to do groups on telehealth. Starting in April, we started seeing people in person again in our adult and adolescent counseling programs. And so now people have a choice. It is really helpful if somebody's planning to come in person and then, if something happens with their childcare or their transportation falls apart or something like that, they can just switch and see us, virtually. We, like a lot of other organizations, when COVID hit, we took a look at how could we rapidly reduce expenses or liabilities. We had a lease that was coming to the end in Glenview, and we did elect to close that office early, about 6 months early, and no services were disrupted because everybody was already on telehealth anyway at that time. And rather than reopen an office of our own, which, frankly was quite expensive, we elected to co-locate with Turning Point in Skokie. So they're about a mile or two further east than our Glenview office, but offer the same access in terms of there's free parking on site, and there's also much better public transit to that location. So if people need to come from Maine Township to that location, it's just a lot easier. And we're really, really excited about that. Also, we'll be partnering further with them, and so I don't know to what extent they serve Maine Township residents, but in their mental health programs, but we intend to fully integrate with them as we go forward. So that's kind of what our last year has looked like. It's been hectic, it's been unusual. I would tell you that overall, people who are coming into treatment now are generally in much worse shape than they would have been 2 years ago before COVID. The toll that the isolation and the stress and the loss has taken on people is very extreme and noticeable. And so we, we just stick through it with our clients and their support systems and try to really get people fully engaged in the kind of recovery support that they need. So we are in the process of rebuilding. We're very interested in continuing to serve Maine Township residents. We have invested in an expanded outreach program, and we'd be happy to partner with you all in ways we can get the message out that services are available. That is, I think I'll stop there and happy to take your questions.
Thank you very much. Board members, any questions from board members?
I just had, what other townships, it looks like you get 189,000 total. How many townships are involved? You guys are in Evanston, but you said you have an office too in Glenview, does that sound right?
We closed the office in Glenview, so we're now open in Skokie.
Okay, so you have an office in Skokie, which is, okay. Yeah. The other townships involved, if you know?
Townships who make financial contributions?
Yeah, which fund you? Yeah, it says you got township funding about 189,000.
Yeah, so Niles Township, Northfield Township, Maine Township, thank you very much. The city of Evanston, though they're changing kind of the structure of that, and New Trier Township, and the village of Skokie. So those are kind of the overlapping municipal government.
Okay. So we're the low end of the townships?
Yes.
As far as contributions, is that right? Okay.
Yes. Though, you know, the way our financial model is, seriously, all contributions are very welcome. So, but yes, we're happy to continue to increase. And you all gave us some supplemental funds during COVID, which we very much appreciated. So thank you for that.
Last year, we're only 9,900.
Yeah.
The one again, okay.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Any others from the board members? Okay. All right. Directors, any questions?
You're one of the people that we refer a lot of our clients to, so thank you for providing good services for them. Just kind of curious about staffing changes up or down. Are you looking for more clinicians? If you can just comment on that.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely like the question of the moment. So we actually had a significant number amount of turnover last year in the spring. I think the best way to explain it is we had a number of people who had finished their licensure hours, and the private practice compensation was going way up very fast. And so people were able to leave for substantially higher pay than we could offer. We did work out how to overall increase our compensation for our counselors. Frankly, it was a desperate measure to retain and be able to keep and then secure the staffing that we needed. But we have completely refilled the staff in our adult and adolescent counseling program. We have some great people with great experience who I don't know that we would have found them before. People with hospital experience, people who've done work with people with serious mental illness, and then being able to pair that with substance use. So I'm really happy about where we are right now. So we are stable in our staffing right now, though we are looking for a part-time receptionist if you know anybody who's looking for. That would be extremely helpful. That's been really hard to fill. Hoping that we'll be able to stay where we are for the moment.
Thanks, Marie.
Yep.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Especially in the rain. Do we have anything from Northwest Compass?
I did not, I called 5 times and I haven't heard anything.
Okay, and they were supposed to be here
At 8 o'clock.
at 8 o'clock.
They were supposed to be, I'm not sure if something happened or possibly they forgot. Maybe they asked all agencies after 7 or 12:30.
Right now.
Okay, all right, well, I think maybe we'll adjourn and of course we can squeeze them in on our next date if.
I will follow up and see what's going on.
Yeah, okay. But I did want to say that if we have a November date for one more meeting, and then you say you usually talk about all the candidates at the December meeting, is that right? Part of the regular board meeting in December?
Yes.
Okay.
We usually ask around the end of December or the end of November or first week in December for everyone to turn in their numbers. And then our internal meeting was typically held around the beginning of December, several weeks before the.
So when you say everyone, who's everyone? You mean the directors?
Well, it was employees, administrator, and supervisor participated in that meeting before, but it could be structured differently.
All right. I think I'm hearing that we just assumed it'd be structured the way it has previously. It's the second scenario that you had described earlier. Okay. Any other comments or thoughts about this?
So you guys would be meeting after we would turn in our numbers?
Correct. Oh, wait. I'm misunderstanding. I thought we waited and looked at your numbers before we do anything.
Not in the past. Everyone turned in their numbers, and then we started with the average of everybody's numbers as a discussion point. It can certainly be done differently. That's just how we did it prior to 4 years ago.
So when do you have the numbers from us?
Usually end of November, beginning of December.
Okay, so after a November board meeting.
Yes, and
when
after
we
the
have
next
an opportunity to perhaps talk about the factors that we think are important. And maybe advocate for one type of group or another or something. We'll have a chance to discuss that in November.
Yeah.
And then we can actually turn in our suggested numbers at the end of November. Okay. Rich, can I ask you to put that in an email?
Sure.
Just to outline the process. And send it to us as a reminder. And also, ASAP's not here to hear it. So if you would, please just sort of summarize that so we'll have that in front of us and as a reminder and information.
I will.
Okay?
We ever had a denial? Does anybody know that in the past? A denial where someone asked for something, was it no?
Oh, all the time.
Yes.
I was gonna say.
Well, a lot of new agencies, we don't fund.
I see. So you know more.
Right, so.
Skokie, Symphony Orchestra.
Right.
So it's possible, okay.
And 207 Health Clinic,
Right.
which we all were impressed with, but we couldn't.
There used to be a lot more denials in the past before 4 years ago when it was just the average. So what happened over the last 4 years is sometimes one trustee wanted to fund an agency and everyone else said zero. And so the average would go down to, in some cases, $300 or $240 and a very, very small amount. Some agencies turned it down because the administration of funding administering a $200 grant or $300 grant was not worth it. And some agencies accepted it. But if we do it the way we did it prior to 4 years ago, we won't have that issue of funding a very, very small amount. It doesn't necessarily make sense or indicate the will of most of the people that are really.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing when they send you a letter with your check back, like, thanks, but no thanks. It's really embarrassing, like, it wasn't worth our time for this.
Right.
So would we have, if we put our numbers down and then you guys look at it and make suggestions, can we then alter what we?
Oh, yeah.
For sure. I guess I was hoping to decide based on input from you guys before because I feel like I'm just sort of taking this.
I don't think there's anything written in stone. Yeah, no, of course.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the board always has the final say.
Of course, yeah, you can change your mind.
I mean, or do you want to do a different process, not vote at all until after?
I guess I feel like I'm just making sort of arbitrary decisions, and I guess before I just make up a number, I would rather have.
Do you want to look at our numbers first? Maybe we should reverse it.
I think that actually sort of
It
makes
gives you
sense.
open for questions, right?
Yeah, I guess I just would rather see like your recommendation first before I.
So why don't we do
Sure.
that?
We
Why
can
don't
have
we
those
meet,
ready
and then do
for
our
the-
numbers and give them to the board?
Yeah, we can have those ready
Make
before the
extra
November
work
meeting.
or-
Right, no, we can do that. Let's
That's
go
a
reverse it.
That's a good
Actually,
suggestion.
I think that makes more
That's
sense.
fine. Sure, we can do that.
All right. So you'll straighten that out.
I will, and I'll put in specific dates too for all of this.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything that we need an additional meeting for?
Do we have to, is there a certain amount of dollar amount that we always have to fund?
That's a great question.
Or is it up to us, whatever?
It's up to us. You guys, this is something we should probably listen to.
If we could hear it, we would.
Okay.
And if we were notified it's being spoken, we listen along.
All right, at a previous meeting, I said, mistakenly, that our total amount couldn't be any more than it was budgeted for. I think I said $440,000, but my mistake was, that was for last year. We haven't really set the budget for the upcoming year, so it's not set yet. So I don't know if there's any maximum amount or minimum amount that we have to hit. Obviously, it has to fit in our overall budget, but I don't think it's been set yet for the next budget.
But in theory, we could potentially fund everything if we wanted to, but I mean, not that we but.
I can tell you, and Kim obviously can chime in too, that we have never gone over $500,000. In years past, we did do 500,000, maybe for several years at one time, and maybe the lowest I've seen it is, the lower fours. It's fluctuated between maybe 400,000 and 500,000. So I would say if you want to look at that as your window, does that sound about right, Kim?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say if you want to do that as your window.
Assuming we gave everybody exactly what they want, that number is still under $400,000, isn't it?
What's this, 460?
Oh, just
460
so we know what that number is right now. Even if we gave every single thing.
And the total request for this year from all agencies was $576,000.
Okay, thank you.
Now,
Thanks.
that number is actually not accurate because the Miracle House, so they came in saying they only were asking for 10,000, even though the sheet says 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, they put 25 on the application, so yeah, if we take 15 off of that, it would be
75, 61.
61.
Higher than,
It's still, yeah.
right, I've never seen it more than 500.
Okay,
But
that's good to know.
So we should keep that number in mind then, Karen, when we're giving numbers, keep in mind the $400,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
Yeah, so it was 440 last year.
Okay.
And that would be helpful for us too, to know kind of what your target is, as we're figuring out how to allocate our funds for our recommendations.
There have been the rare occasions when an agency comes in and they ask for such a meager amount that we've actually given them more.
I saw a couple of those already on here.
I think we've done that with Miracle House.
Yeah, I saw one.
And with fish.
one thing, so that I wondered why
Yeah.
they bothered. So low.
Fish we would ask.
First two tonight, I thought.
Fish, but before that was here, before we housed fish, right?
So what was the kind of target amount that you're comfortable with, at least preliminarily discussing?
It might vary from person to person. Unfortunately, we're not one head over here.
Did you say 440 though, Karen? 440?
That's what it was last year.
That's what it was last year, like 442.
Okay, thanks.
Somewhere between under
Okay.
5.
Under 5.
Okay.
Under 5.
Okay.
5.
All right, so in November, we will
Yes,
get,
we're 99.
early November, well, we'll have one more meeting, and somewhere in mid-November, we'll get the votes from the director and administrator.
We'll set up a meeting next month and get the numbers.
All right, and then at our November board meeting, the board will discuss.
Plagiarize that
Okay?
issue.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Supervisor Dine,
Yes?
Trustee Jones,
Yes.
Trustee Horvath,
Yes.
Trustee Mahler,
Yes.
Administrator Berman,
Yes.
Department Directors Petrunsky,
Yes.
Lyon, and Chelsea.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.